Ah, look at you, just existing, calm, centered, not reaching, not begging, not performing, not chasing a single soul who didn't choose you first. And it's driving them absolutely insane, isn't it? Because the moment you stopped running after people who were walking away, the moment you stopped explaining yourself to minds already made up, the moment you stopped fighting for space in rooms that locked the door behind you, that's when something shifted. Something they can feel, but can't name. Something that's making them look at their entire life and ask a question they're terrified to answer. Wait, did I ever actually matter to anyone? Or was I just chasing people who were running from me too? Oh, they notice. Trust me, they notice. You think your silence went undetected? You think your absence didn't leave a hole they're now staring into every single night? They notice that you're not in their comments anymore, not liking their posts, not asking how they're doing, not showing up to events you used to bend over backward to attend, not texting first, not calling, not checking in, not caring. And that last part, that's the one that's keeping them up at night, because when someone stops chasing you, it's uncomfortable. But when someone stops chasing you and they're clearly fine, thriving even, glowing in a way that makes it obvious they didn't just let go, they leveled up, that's not uncomfortable. That's unbearable. That's a mirror they didn't ask for but can't stop staring into. You became the question they can't answer. The equation that doesn't add up, the story that doesn't make sense. Because in their mind, you were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to fall apart without them. You were supposed to come crawling back, apologizing for crimes you didn't commit, begging for scraps of attention they were never going to give you anyway. But you didn't. You walked away. No dramatics, no big speech, no burning bridges or scorched earth. You just left quietly. Cleanly, completely, and now they're the ones who can't move on. Now they're the ones replaying old conversations. Now they're the ones wondering if they made a mistake. Here's what they'll never admit out loud. Your lack of reaction is the most violent response you could have given them. Because people who play games, people who manipulate, people who use others as emotional supply, they need a reaction. They need you to cry. They need you to beg. They need you to blow up so they can play the victim. They need proof that they still affect you, that they still have power over you, that you're still tangled in the web they spent so long weaving. But you gave them nothing. Silence, space, indifference. And indifference, real indifference, is the only thing narcissists and emotional vampires can't survive. You didn't give them closure. You didn't give them conflict. You didn't give them content. You just became unavailable, unbothered, unmoved. And that is what's eating them alive. They're watching you now more than they ever did when you were around, checking your stories, your posts, your energy, looking for cracks, looking for proof that you're suffering, looking for anything that confirms the narrative they need to believe, that you're broken without them. But every time they look, they see someone who's lighter, freer, stronger, someone who's not performing for an audience, someone who's not trying to prove anything, someone who's just living. And it's making them spiral. Because if you're fine without them, if you're better without them, then what does that say about the role they played in your life? What does that say about the role anyone plays in theirs? Let's talk about what's really happening here. You stopped chasing, and suddenly everyone around you had to confront a terrifying truth. Most people are only close to others because someone is doing the chasing. Most friendships, most relationships, most connections are held together by one person's effort, one person's texts, one person's calls, one person's energy, one person's refusal to let things die. And the moment that person stops, the whole thing collapses. No explosion, no fight, just silence. Empty group chats, unreturned messages, fading plans, And the person who is being chased is left standing there, looking around, realizing they don't actually have the relationships they thought they had. They have arrangements, conveniences, audiences, but not connections. You were the glue, and you didn't even know it. You were the one making plans, the one reaching out, the one remembering birthdays, checking in, asking questions, showing up, investing, caring. And they got comfortable. They got lazy. They started treating your presence like a subscription service, like you'd just always be there, running in the background, available whenever they needed you, but never quite worth prioritizing. And you let it happen. Not because you were weak, not because you were desperate, but because you loved deeply. You valued connection. You believed in people. You gave them the benefit of the doubt, over and over and over, even when the doubt was screaming at you to walk away. But then something changed. Maybe it was a moment. Maybe it was 1,000 tiny moments that finally added up. Maybe someone showed you who they really were one too many times, and you finally believed them. Maybe you just got tired. Tired of being the only one trying. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of pouring into people who wouldn't even spit on you if you were on fire. Whatever it was, you stopped. And the second you stopped chasing, the second you stopped performing, the second you stopped trying to convince people of your worth, everything became clear. Crystal clear. You saw who actually cared. You saw who was only around because you made it easy. You saw who loved you and who loved what you did for them. And here's the part that's breaking them. You didn't even do it to punish them. You didn't stop chasing to teach them a lesson. You didn't withdraw to manipulate them into realizing your value. You stopped because you realized your value. You stopped because you understood that real love, real friendship, real connection doesn't require begging. It doesn't require convincing. It doesn't require you to audition for a role in someone's life every single day. You stopped chasing because you finally understood that the right people don't run, and the ones who do, they were never yours to begin with. Now they're sitting in the wreckage of that realization, and it's destroying them. Because they're looking around at their life, at their relationships, at the people they're surrounded by, and they're asking themselves the same question you once asked. If I stopped chasing, would anyone come looking for me? And the answer, the one they're too afraid to face, is probably not. Probably they're in the same position you were in. Probably they're the one doing all the work, making all the effort, holding everything together. And if they stopped, if they went silent, if they pulled back, they'd be alone too. Just like they left you alone. And that's the karma they can't escape. That's the mirror they can't shatter. You're not just living your life anymore. You're a walking, breathing reminder of what's possible when you stop settling, when you stop shrinking, when you stop chasing people who are sprinting away from you. You're proof that there's life after letting go, that there's peace after walking away, that there's power in choosing yourself. And people who are still stuck in the chase, still stuck in the performance, still stuck trying to earn love from people who wouldn't lose sleep if they disappeared, they can't handle that. They can't handle seeing someone break free from the same prison they're still locked in. Because if you could do it, that means they could too. But they won't, and they know it. And that's what's eating them alive. Every time they see you unbothered, they feel bothered. Every time they see you thriving, they feel like they're dying. Every time they see you smiling without them, laughing without them, glowing without them, they're forced to confront the fact that they were never the source of your light. They were the shadow. And now that you've stepped into the sun, now that you've stopped letting people dim you to make themselves feel brighter, they're stuck in the dark, wondering how they got there, wondering why no one's chasing them, wondering why their phone's so quiet, wondering why the people they took for granted aren't begging for another chance. Let me tell you what they're too proud to say. They miss you, not the real you. They don't even know the real you. They miss the version of you that made them feel important. The version that laughed at their jokes even when they weren't funny. The version that listened to their problems even when they never asked about yours. The version that showed up even when they didn't. The version that forgave them over and over even when they never apologized. They missed the supply, the attention, the validation, the ego boost, the free therapist, the emotional punching bag. The person they could count on to always be there, no matter how badly they treated you. But that version of you is gone, dead, buried, and good riddance. Because that version was a performance, a mask, a role you played because you thought that's what love looked like. You thought if you just tried harder, cared more, gave more, sacrificed more, eventually people would see your worth. Eventually they'd match your energy. Eventually they'd choose you the way you chose them. But they didn't, and they never were going to. Because people don't value what they don't have to work for. People don't appreciate what's always available. People don't chase what's always chasing them. So you stopped, and the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. You didn't collapse into a heap of loneliness and regret like they predicted. You bloomed. You expanded. You remembered who you were before you started shrinking yourself to fit into their lives. You remembered what it felt like to have standards, boundaries, self-respect. You remembered that your energy is sacred, your time is limited, your love is not a resource to be mined until there's nothing left. And that remembering, that awakening, that reclamation of self, it's the most powerful thing you've ever done. Now they're scrambling. Some of them are breadcrumbing, sending random texts at 2 a.m, liking old photos, dropping cryptic comments, trying to keep one foot in your door without actually stepping inside. Some of them are playing victim, telling mutual friends how much they miss you, how they don't understand what happened, how you just changed. Some of them are trying the jealousy route, posting about their amazing life, their new friends, their new relationships, hoping you'll see it and feel some type of way. And some of them, the really insecure ones, are talking about you, analyzing you, trying to figure out what happened, spreading theories, making you the villain in a story where you were barely even a character. But here's what they all have in common. They're reacting, and you're not. They're obsessed, and you're indifferent. They're stuck, and you're free. Because while they're wasting energy trying to get your attention, trying to make you care, trying to prove something to someone who's already moved on, you're building a life that doesn't include them. You're investing in people who invest in you. You're showing up for people who show up for you. You're creating connections based on reciprocity, respect, and genuine care. Not convenience, not history, not obligation, but actual, real, mutual love. And that's what they can't compete with. They can't compete with your peace. They can't compete with your growth. They can't compete with the version of you that finally realized you don't have to beg anyone to see your value. You don't have to audition for anyone's approval. You don't have to convince anyone you're worth keeping. Because the right people, the real ones, they'll know, they'll see you, they'll choose you. Without hesitation, without conditions, without you having to chase them down and convince them you're worthy of their time. Let's go deeper, because this isn't just about them anymore. This is about everyone who's watching. Everyone who saw you stop chasing and felt something stir inside them. A whisper, a question, a tiny seed of doubt planted in the soil of their own relationships. They're looking at their friendships, their family dynamics, their romantic relationships, and they're starting to ask themselves the same questions you asked. Am I the only one trying here? Am I the only one who cares? If I stopped reaching out, would anyone notice? Would anyone come looking for me? And the more they watch you thrive in your solitude, the louder those questions get. You've become a mirror for everyone around you, and mirrors don't lie. They reflect, and what people are seeing in your reflection is uncomfortable. It's their own lack, their own imbalance, their own one-sided relationships, their own patterns of chasing people who don't chase them back. And instead of doing the hard work of addressing it, instead of having the difficult conversations, instead of setting boundaries and standards, and choosing themselves the way you chose yourself. They're getting defensive. They're getting angry. They're projecting. Because it's easier to blame you for changing than it is to admit they've been settling. Some of them are calling you cold, distant, different. They're saying you've changed, and they're right. You have changed. You stopped accepting crumbs. You stopped celebrating people who only remembered you existed when they needed something. You stopped making excuses for people who never made time. You stopped giving infinite chances to people who never gave you a first one. You stopped being available to everyone and started being intentional about who gets access to you. That's not cold. That's called self-preservation. That's called growth. That's called finally learning the difference between being alone and being lonely. Because here's the truth they don't want to accept. You were lonely when you were surrounded by people. You were lonely in group chats that only lit up when someone needed something. You were lonely in friendships where you were the only one asking questions. You were lonely in spaces where your presence was expected but your absence was never noticed. You were lonely because you were the only one showing up, the only one trying, the only one caring. And that kind of loneliness, the kind where you're surrounded by people but still completely unseen, that's the worst kind. So you chose solitude. Intentional, peaceful, powerful solitude. You chose to be alone on purpose instead of being lonely by accident. You chose to invest your energy into yourself instead of pouring it into people who treated it like garbage. You chose to build a life so full, so rich, so aligned that you didn't need anyone to validate it. And that choice, that radical act of self-love, is what's making them question everything. Because if you can be happy alone, if you can thrive without them, if you can build a beautiful life without chasing a single soul, then what have they been doing? What have they been sacrificing? What have they been settling for? They're realizing that they've spent years, maybe decades, performing, pretending, chasing people who don't care. Staying in relationships out of fear, not love. Holding on to friendships because of history, not connection. Tolerating disrespect because they're terrified of being alone. And you, just by existing in your peace, just by refusing to play that game anymore, you've exposed the whole thing. You've pulled back the curtain. You've shown them that the emperor has no clothes, and they hate you for it. Not because you did anything to them, but because you did something for yourself. And that's a level of self-respect they've never experienced. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Every person who's questioning their existence because you stopped chasing is being forced to confront their deepest fear. That they're not actually as important as they think they are. That they're not irreplaceable. That their presence in someone's life isn't a gift, but a burden. That the people who stick around aren't staying because they love them, but because they're too kind, too patient, too forgiving to leave. And when you left, when you stopped chasing, when you stopped pretending like their bare minimum was something to be grateful for, you confirmed that fear. You proved that they were replaceable. That their absence didn't create a void. It created space. Space for better. Space for peace, space for real love. And now they're spiraling. They're going through their phone, scrolling through old messages, looking at the ratio of sent to received. They're counting how many times they've reached out versus how many times someone reached out to them. They're analyzing their relationships under a microscope you handed them without saying a word. They're seeing patterns they've been ignoring for years. And it hurts. It's supposed to. Growth hurts. Awareness hurts. Realizing you've been the problem, or at least complicit in your own mistreatment, that hurts like nothing else. But pain is a teacher, and you just gave them a masterclass. Some of them will learn. Some of them will wake up. Some of them will look at what you did, how you moved, the boundaries you set, the standards you upheld, and they'll be inspired. They'll stop chasing too. They'll start choosing themselves. They'll start demanding reciprocity. They'll start walking away from people and places and things that don't serve them. And when they do, they'll think of you. They'll remember that you showed them it was possible, that you were the first person in their life who modeled what it looks like to love yourself enough to let go. But most of them won't. Most of them will stay stuck. They'll keep chasing. They'll keep settling. They'll keep convincing themselves that this is just how relationships are, that everyone struggles, that it's normal to feel drained by the people you love. They'll watch you from a distance, scrolling through your life, looking for signs that you're struggling, that you're lonely, that you regret walking away. And when they don't find any, when all they see is someone who's genuinely happy, genuinely free, genuinely unbothered, they'll make up stories. They'll tell themselves you're faking it, that you're secretly miserable, that you're putting on a show, because the alternative, the truth, is too painful to accept. The truth is this: you don't need them. You never did. You thought you did. You convinced yourself that connection required compromise, that love required sacrifice, that being a good person meant tolerating bad behavior. But you were wrong. And the moment you realized that, the moment you understood that real love doesn't cost you your peace, your self-respect, your sanity, that's the moment you became dangerous. Dangerous to every fake friendship, every toxic relationship, every manipulative dynamic, because you stopped playing the game. You stopped following the rules. You stopped accepting the bare minimum as if it were a blessing. And now you're free. Free from the weight of one-sided relationships. Free from the exhaustion of constantly trying to prove your worth to people who were never going to see it. Free from the anxiety of wondering if you're too much or not enough. Free from the prison of other people's approval. And that freedom, that lightness, that peace, it's intoxicating. It's magnetic. It's the kind of energy that attracts real people, good people, people who don't need to be chased because they're already running toward you. They see it. Everyone sees it. The glow, the confidence, the calm, the energy of someone who's no longer available for nonsense. Someone who's no longer auditioning for roles in other people's lives. Someone who's finally living for themselves. And it's beautiful. It's powerful. It's everything they wish they had the courage to be. But instead of being inspired, instead of learning from you, instead of using you as a blueprint for their own liberation, they're threatened, they're bitter, they're resentful, because your freedom is a reminder of their cage, and they're too comfortable in their chains to break free.